Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. Today's the Big 12 conference preview, folks. Now, we've been teasing this for a little bit because we've been saying college football is right around the corner, and we're recording this on the 22nd of July. We are literally 1 month away from week 0. So Tyson and I have to get our ass in gear, give you these previews, because if you're like us, you're like, hey, you've been doing some work on the side, but it's go time, folks. I know it doesn't feel like football season because it's red hot around the country in terms of weather, but we have you covered here on I Said What I Said as we go through our Power 4 conference previews, starting with the Big 12. Tyson, how good does it feel to be talking football?
It does feel good. I was thinking about it most of today, that it's a little unbelievable that we're here, but the Big 12 was a little unbelievable last season too. So it's a good place to start. Dude, it was like 63 degrees here yesterday, a little rain. It wasn't so bad.
It was a little overcast by me too in Arizona, which was nice. I got out in the course late. It was good to get out and play and not be sweating. I still got the terrible tan lines, but that's all right, Tyson. You win some, you lose some.
Are you a Stewart Sink? Like in the summer, do you get the hat line?
Only on the back and a couple on the side. But I like to take off the hat, to keep it a little even, when I'm not hitting the golf shot. But, that's what we got going on here. Tyson, Big 12, you said it last year. Arizona was picked last in the media poll, and then they won the conference, went to the college football playoff. So, of course, the Big 12 this year not doing a media poll, which is whatever. Does anybody even really care about them? But it figures again this year to be complete madness because Kansas State's your favorite at plus 500. These are odds courtesy of FanDuel. Utah is second along with Arizona State, plus 600. Then you got Baylor and Texas Tech, who are tied for third in the odds at plus 650. Then you got TCU plus 800, and the rest are pretty much clumped together with the odds makers not even quite sure. The only ones that we can really figure out that have no chance is UCF and Oklahoma State, who are 5,500 and 6,500 respectively. So, or I guess Oklahoma State 5,500, UCF 6,500. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun conference again that we're going to dive into and give some details about.
You didn't learn anything from last season because you just said there's two we can count out in this conference. Right. I mean, if you were taking an Arizona State future, you'd be pumped.
That's true. That is true. So kind of like a preview here is Tyson and I are doing things differently from what we've done in the past. We only have a couple win total bets at the end of this episode before we would go through with like more of a gambling angle. This is going to be more football focused than we've done in the past, where we try to do both gambling and football analysis. So we do have some picks at the end, but it's not going to be as centralized on gambling stuff. So we're going to give you some more information of what we expect on the field and all that good stuff. Tyson, with that said, I gave out Utah to win this conference when we did the Heisman primer. This is a hard conference to figure out. Are you leaning any way right now, but before we dive in?
I don't think so. I think that I'm lower on Utah, and we'll talk about that, than you are. I don't have a future on them to win the conference, but that's a weird place for us to be as a duo. This is never how it's worked out before, so that's interesting. But I think like if 4 or 5 teams, like if Baylor won the conference, are you just like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened?
No, definitely not. And I'll give some reasons why here pretty soon, Tyson. And so let's start diving in. We're going to go by alphabetical order, so that's easy for people to follow along here. If you're listening, if you're watching on YouTube, we're going to start with Arizona. And this was a disastrous year last year under Brent Brennan, coming over San Jose State. Went 4-8, 2-7 in conference. This was supposed to be the momentum builder coming off the Jed Fish era, and Brent Brennan takes a torch and runs with it. It was anything but that. Noah Fafita looked like a completely different player. Last year, under 3,000 yards, 18 touchdowns, 12 picks, 61% completion percentage, which was shocking to see. But he's back this year, Tyson, not with his guy to throw to in Tedero McMillan, but they do get Luke Wysong, which is like a big wide receiver name coming in from New Mexico. 69 balls he caught last year for 840 and a touchdown. Chris Hunter's back as well, one of their receivers from last year. That's a good holdover. Overall, and I like to highlight this, returning experience that Arizona's bringing back, 59.1% of their offense, which is 38th in the country, 57.7% of their tackles, 25th in the country, which was shocking to me, and 78 offensive line starts, 7 returning offensive starters, 9 returning defensive starters. I think that's a good sign for Arizona. Now, transfers are factored in there, but comparatively to the transfer portal on the way out immediately, like I was shocked to see those numbers put together by Phil Steele.
Yeah, but they returned a good amount of people from a team that won 10 games 2 years ago, and they couldn't even finish in the top half of this thing. New coordinator on offense and defense this year. So, I'd like when you read stuff about Arizona, it's like the secondary is a strength, and it's like, who cares? They allowed 180 yards a game in the Big 12 against teams running the football. I think that's a huge concern. Obviously losing T-Mac is a pretty big deal, and you got to bolster that up. But I just don't want to get duped by Arizona again. My expectations are as low as possible.
Yeah, and I think it'd be hard to blame you there. I mean, Brent Brennan, we thought was a good coach because it was like, wow, look what he's doing at San Jose State. Then Coach Ken goes there and was incredible too. And it's like, wait, is San Jose State actually not like a terrible job?
Sleeping giant.
So that was strange to see. And you know how I like to look at toughest schedules and things like that, just preseason stuff coming in. How can we expect this to stack up? Arizona's schedule is 27th toughest in the country, according to Phil Steele. I'm just going to look at this stretch here, Tyson. The first three, they give you some like good lead in. I mean, you got to play Hawaii at home, which is beneficial. Weber State FCS program, but then you go and host Kansas State on a Friday game, who's a favorite in the conference. You get a bye, then you got to go to Iowa State. They're coming off a bye. Then here's your stretch to close at Colorado, who we don't expect them to be great. Kansas should have a bounce back. We'll get into that. At Cincinnati, who's off a bye. Home Baylor at Arizona State in a rivalry game. That is a tough 5 games to close. And if you're expecting to go to a bowl game, you got to get this schedule early.
They might need to worry about Weber State. That's all. Like, we'll leave the last 5.
Let's move into Arizona State because they were the surprise team last year. People kind of think that Arizona State should have beat Texas. There's a questionable officiating call in there. I mean, that would have been some story, right? Everybody's talking about, the Big Ten stinks. They take out Texas. That would be something to see. But this is Kenny Dillingham's 3rd season. He's 14-12. In his career here, after going 11-3 last year, 7-2 in conference. Sam Levitt returns just shy of 3,000 yards passing, 62% completion percentage, 24 touchdowns, 6 picks. It's another 612 yards on the ground and 5 TDs. Now, Tyson, here's the big one for me. How about Kanye Udo, the running back from Army, transferring in?
I didn't know that was allowed.
That you can do it in your freshman or sophomore years. Now, if you're a junior, you have committed to the military academy. This is something that I found out. But yeah, he looks like he has a future in football. And I guess his coaches were like, dude, you got to make up your mind. Do you want to play football or do you want to stay in the academy? And 1,100 yards last year, it's 10 touchdowns. They sent them to Tempe, my neck of the woods. Tyson, I think this is the most interesting thing. Offensive yards returning 64.4%, 24th. I think Dillingham's happy about that because he's the offensive guru. But this is where I'm looking at things. I'm kind of licking my chops here for Arizona State. 74.3% of their tackles are back. That's 2nd in the country. 111 offensive line starts. That's 19th in the country. 8 offensive starters back. 9 defensive starters back. That is huge for a team that just completed a massive turnaround and went to the college football playoff.
And Sam Levitt deserves some hype. Jordan Tyson obviously deserves some hype. Udo, the running back by committee they're going to have. Bro, this defense was super good, and nobody cared because people cared, but it was a secondary thing because Dillingham's offense. Cam Scatterby was awesome. It's like, can you believe Sam Levitt is slinging the rock like this? They allowed 23 points a game in the Big 12, 6 yards a play. They just returned pretty much everybody from that unit. It's going to be, maybe a little scary to deal with the Sun Devils. And I think Jordan Tyson has a shot to win. Not the Heisman Trophy, but he's going to be collecting his fair share of hardware. I think at the end of the season too.
Yeah, and Jalen Moss, they got in for Fresno State, caught 48 balls, just shy of 600 yards, 4 touchdowns to get another pass catcher who's a threat too. So that's something to keep an eye on. Tyson, I will say, Arizona State's schedule ranks 39th toughest in the country. They have an interesting breakup here because they start with Northern Arizona. So FCS, little local rivalry. They got to go to Mississippi State as a non-con game. Then they host Texas State, who there's some popular names going on in Texas State trying to make a jump here. That's something to keep an eye on. Then they go at Baylor, who's one of the top teams in the conference. Same with TCU. They get a bye. Then they have to go to Utah, who's coming off a bye. Texas Tech, who we'll talk about, who's an interesting spot. Houston, our guy Willie Fritz, who everybody's looking at a boom spot here in year 2, at Iowa State, which is never a tough place. And they got another bye, and then they close. I think this is nice for them. West Virginia, at Colorado, Arizona. So I think if you can get through the first part of that schedule feeling comfortable and you win your 3 non-con games, I think Arizona State's got a shot to be competing for another championship.
Yeah, maybe like the real one.
Maybe. I'm very curious to see how this offense looks in year 2, especially with Levitt back. So that's something to note. Tyson, Baylor is a super popular name this year. And I think a lot of people would have been shocked to say that based on how this thing started. But your guy, Dave Aranda, turned things around on the back half to finish 8-5, 6-3 in conference. Sawyer Robertson is a dark horse Heisman. We didn't talk about him too much in our first primer, but he's a name getting thrown around. And you play in the Big 12, you're going to be able to put up some video game like numbers. He didn't quite do that last year. 3,000 yards, 62% completion percentage, 28 TDs, 8 picks. But he's going into his senior year, a little bit more experience, second year in the system. So I think he's a
22 of those touchdowns were in the last 8 games. 22 of those 28 were in his last 8.
And that's something to note because there was a lot of momentum being built by Baylor after they started horribly, and I think that's why they're a popular name.
No doubt. And you can keep going through the stuff. I'm sorry, I just want to throw that in there because I was looking through his stats today. They were 2-4. This team stunk,
right? And
then all of a sudden it was like, oh, Baylor, they're scoring 30 points a week.
No, I that's good color to add to this because the funny thing is, Tyson, if it was completely reversed and Robertson did that in the first half of the year and then did with ice cold in the second half, oh, he sucks. Baylor stinks. Like, you can't. But it's the opposite. So we're like, they're going to build the momentum. It's like, guys, it's a new year. Like, can we really take that into consideration? But that's what we do every time.
It's been and I'm falling for it. I mean, I'm dumb enough to fall. He also had like 150 quarterback rating last season. When I was scrolling through stuff today, I was a little surprised to see that.
I know and I wonder how much, and we didn't talk about him particularly in the Heisman stuff, but when you have a strong running back group, and we know Aranda, you know him from his time at LSU running defense, like he wants his guys to be strong, man. I mean, he doesn't want to put his defense in a spot where they're on the field constantly. But Bryson Washington, he's back, ran for 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns last year. Dawson Pendergrass, 671 yards, 6 touchdowns last year. They returned their 2 leading receivers, Josh Cameron, Ashton Hawkins. This team has pieces in place, at least on the offensive side of the ball, where they can make some noise. 78.1% of their yards are back, which is 5th in the country. Aranda gets 54.7% of his tackles back, 40th in the country on defense. I think you'll definitely take that. The offensive line,
5 guys.
73 offensive line starts, 61st in the country. Could be a little better, Tyson, but I mean, I think you'll take that going into the season. 10 guys returning on offense and starters, 8 returning defensive starters back. This is a good base that you can work from if you're Baylor.
It is, but I guess maybe to throw some cold water on the Baylor stuff for everybody, there's a lot of teams in the Big 12 that can just sneak up on you and go, and they allowed 16 plays of 40-plus yards last season. That's insane. Like that's too many. And like I'm not like 39 would be a huge play, and they allowed 16 of 40 plus. That's too many. When you got school like Noah Fafita can show up in your backyard. We just said Arizona sucks, and he might throw for 6 touchdowns if you're not careful. And that's where I'm a little worried. I don't know if they added enough in the portal. They got 5 starters coming back on defense, and it was all 3 levels that they added that. And Dave Aranda knows how to coach defense, but. Yeah, that's just too many big plays. I think this conference especially, like, it's just somebody's going to jump up and grab you, and then that's the scary part.
Yeah, and if they could limit that, I think they will be in a better position. But that's a good thing to point out. And Tyson, I think this is interesting too. 30th toughest schedule in the country. This is who they start with. Hosting Auburn in what is a very interesting game with Hugh Freeze on the hot seat, Jackson Arnold transferring there, and we'll go over this in our SEC preview. But that's a super fascinating game. I think a little under the radar in week 1 on that one. Then how about you got to go to SMU the week after? And SMU showed that they can play with the big boys in the ACC, so that's something to note. Then you don't get a break after that. I mean, you kind of do because you host Samford. But then Arizona State at Oklahoma State, hosting Kansas State, get a bye at TCU, at Cincy, home UCF, who's off a bye, Then you get a bye. Utah, who's supposed to be a tough game here, they're off a bye. So you give Whittingham more time late in the season, too. We don't know how that's going to look. At Arizona, finish home Houston. There are landmines there. And I think you pointed it out. If the defense is going to still be giving up explosive plays, sure, your offense can look great. But, man, we got to stop some people, too.
Yeah, that's Baylor football, baby. It doesn't matter who's coaching them. Outside of, was it a couple years ago?
Yeah, when they were really good. And I think that's what Aranda's searching for. I'm curious to see what his job security looks like. Tyson, this is his sixth season. He's of 31-30 record, And
when they were 2-4, it was like, hey, Dave Aranda might be out of there.
I thought he was going back to LSU. I think you were hoping for it a little bit.
Anybody that had to be subject to Madhouse for the last couple of years, it was hoping for anybody. It didn't matter who.
BYU. What a surprise last season. They go 11-2, 7-2 in conference. Looks like Kalani Sitake, after 9 seasons, finally figured it out. He's entering his 10th now. He's got a 72-43 record. But Retzlaff is no longer there. And there is the sexual assault allegations that turned into a consensual sex thing. But under the honor code, you can't have
broke the conduct
sex at BYU. And so he has to leave. Excuse me. He goes to TCU as a Tulane as a walk-on, and now you got a quarterback competition, Tyson, where it's looking like it's between Mikhail Hillstead, Bear Bachmeier, which is a transfer from Stanford, or Trayson Bourget. I have no clue where this is leaning right now.
I don't know anything about any of those guys. I'd be lying if I sat here, and gave you who I thought was going to win. It's a super unfortunate situation. College football is so weird, dude, that this is just a run-of-the-mill thing that we're just yeah, this is college football. This is what happens, but it completely kind of shakes up the way you feel about BYU. I was not super looking forward to even it was so much fun last year. They went from this team stinks to this team can beat anybody, and now it's just I have no idea what's going on with this football team.
I have no clue. And I think the good thing for them is no matter who's quarterback, Tyson, you get your 2 leading rushers back. LJ Martin, who went for just over 700 yards with 7 scores. Siona Moa, 144 and 3 tuds last year. I think he's supposed to be the next guy. That's the projected 2 deep in the running back room. And they get Chase Roberts back at wide receiver, which is huge for whoever's throwing the football. But I think most importantly, and this was with Retzlaff, but 73.8% of their yards are back, which is 8th. I'm curious to know how far that drops down now. Obviously, the quarterback thing is huge, and then only 50.4% of their tackles are back. I think that's scary for BYU because they were doing stuff last year turnover-wise, which was nuts, and I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do the same type of magic this year. So I am a little hesitant on them, Tyson. Only 5 offensive returning starters, 4 defensive returning starters. So this is a new group compared to the one last year, and it's going to be up to Sitake to find that same magic.
Yeah, and they have to rebuild the entire secondary because the defense was awesome last year. The Retzlaff stuff, when he's trying to get trademarks done and all that was fun, and they kept scoring at the end of games. It was BYU is invincible. I don't know what's going on, but the defense was the star of the show, and only bringing back 3 starters is pretty scary. But Sitake showed us that hey, I can coach a little defense. I'll be okay. Just get me the guys. But on the whole, if this is closer to the 3-win BYU, I don't think anybody's super shocked. I think you're more surprised if this is an 11 wins again.
I agree. I mean, their win total is 6.5, shaded -120. So, they're saying maybe they get bowl eligible, maybe they don't. I think that's right in line for BYU. Tyson. I mean, we have no idea what their quarterback situation is. They have the 43rd toughest schedule. There are some landmines, but I think this is the interesting thing here. They start against Portland State at home, then they host Stanford, then they get a bye in week 3, then they go at East Carolina, who has some turnover, at Colorado, who we have no clue how that's going to look. They host West Virginia on a Friday game. Tyson, that's a whole new world over there in Morgantown with Rich Rod going back. We'll get into to close the pod. At Arizona, they could stink. They could be good. You host Utah. That's going to be an in-state rivalry game. At Iowa State, then you get another bye. Then you go at Texas Tech, host TCU, at Cincy, host UCF. So this is the most Big 12 schedule possible. They could be good, they could handle it, they could just be bad. I don't know. This is going to be an interesting team to follow.
Yeah, it always is.
Cincinnati, Scott Satterfield's like one of our guys. Like we've been doing this for a while. We enjoyed him at App State. We thought he was good. Where was he at before here? Now I'm completely drawing a blank, but liked him at App State for sure. Louisville, he was at.
Louisville,
and he takes over at Cincy. Tyson, this is third season. He's 8-16. It just has not quite clicked for Satterfield. And in year 3, especially in this transfer portal era, like things got to start happening. I think there's a good chance that if he turns in another season like he had last year, going 5-7, 3-6 in conference, this guy could be out of a job. Now he'll have a landing spot somewhere, I'm sure. But this is kind of crazy to think this is a rising star in the sport.
Yeah, and it all like 3 wins, 5 wins. Like he's not getting fired with 7 wins. If they make a bowl game, he's fine. But if they suck, but it all comes down to your boy, Mr. Sorsby.
Yeah, I think that's the good thing that he has going for him on Satterfield's side is he got Sorsby's coming back. Was he great last year? Not really. I mean, 2,800 yards, 64% completion percentage, 18 touchdowns, 7 picks. But, transferred in from Indiana last year. This is his second year in the system. You think there's going to be a jump. Tyson, I think this is more on Tawi Walker, transferred in from Wisconsin. He went for 864 and 10 tuds last year. You get Evan Pryor back too. This could be maybe a little bit more of a ground attack. And because I'm curious to know what this passing game looks like to get Jeff Caldwell from Lindenwood.
They lost all their receivers.
But they lost all their guys. And you're kind of looking around. You're like, man, this needs to be
the tight end is awesome. The tight end is awesome. But you lost all 4 of your wide receivers. That's tough.
It is tough. I'll finish off here with them, and we'll keep kind of figuring out Cincinnati because I do think there's reason to get positive for them. But this has to be here for Satterfield because you get 59.3% of their offense back, even with the receivers gone. Like that's a great ratio. If you're looking at 35th in the country, 60.7% of their tackles are back, 20th in the country. And you got 81 offensive line starts back. Now that's 50th. That's still a good base to build off of on the line. You get more experience as you go along. 7 offensive returning starters, 8 returning defensive starters. So in a make or break year for Satterfield, I think Cincinnati at least has enough tools in the toolbox to at least have a good season.
Well, on defense, you got Dante Corleone, which is one of the greatest names in college football, defensive lineman. That's up there, and we're cheering for him. The defense was really, really bad 2 years ago when they won 3 games. It wasn't like world beaters last year, but I think it was like 26 points a game, which was like a 7-point per game improvement over 2 years ago. So you take that and you hope for more positive trends. When you only return a couple starters and you have to hit the portal, that makes things a little scary on the defensive side of the ball. But I don't think he needs a miracle to keep his job, Brad, but it's going to be tough. The schedule is pretty good. I'll let you get into that, but there's some favors done for them there, I think.
I agree with you. 51st toughest schedule. It's according to Phil Steele. Now, they play Nebraska and Kansas City. That's their opener. It's on a Thursday. So, Nebraska, we'll get into them on the Big Ten preview. There's a lot of reasons to be bullish about Nebraska this year. But then you got Bowling Green in your second game, Northwestern State in your third. Those are 2 soft spots for Cincy if you want to talk about moving forward. Then you get a bye before you go at Kansas. You host Iowa State. You host UCF. You go to Oklahoma State, but then you host Baylor for your homecoming, which is a monster game for you. Mm-hmm. Finish that stretch at Utah before you go bye, host Arizona, host BYU, who we have no clue how they're going to look. Then you go at TCU. This at least sets up favorably for them to get to 6 wins, which I think you got to go bowling if you're Satterfield.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's probably where that's going to be fun if he doesn't. We don't want to talk about him losing the job. Head got running. I was like, what if he goes back? Well, Brom just says, hey, you run the offense.
Well, I'm thinking this. What if Luke Fickell gets fired by Wisconsin? Would Luke Fickell come back to Cincy?
Let's cheer for Jeff Satterfield to win 10 games this season. Sorsby is in New York, vying for the Heisman Trophy, and we don't have to worry about it.
That's true. Colorado, and you want to talk about a complete different look of a program. Deion's still here. This is 3rd season, but no Travis Hunter, no Shedeur Sanders, no Shiloh Sanders, your boy. And so this is a completely different era in Boulder. Deion, there's the health thing going on. He has been on campus because he's got something happen health-related, but that has not stopped them from attacking the transfer portal. They have done a good job on the recruiting trail, at least in terms of the targets they want to go after and some of the, they're not big on the high school recruiting scene. They prefer to have the established guys coming in from college. Take it with a grain of salt if you want, but that's their strategy, and it seemed to
They
work
had some
out
good
well.
ones.
Julian Lewis is the stud freshman QB. Caden Salter also transferred in for Liberty. Now, Tyson and I were big on Caden Salter 2 years ago. He soured on him. Now, there's some things, and understandably so. He threw for less than 2,000 yards last year at the Conference USA, 15 touchdowns, 6 picks, only 56% completion percentage. We're like, what the hell happened to this guy? Now, Tyson, there is like real, I don't even want to say reporting because I don't think like Salter's not telling him like, hey, this is what happened. But like there's as close as you get to reporting without it actually calling it that. But the reason Salter was maybe performing not so good last year is because he wanted to go to Auburn, but he couldn't get the transfer stuff together in time. So he had to stay at Liberty. He's like, oh, screw this. So he was basically going half-ass the entire time. Plus his teammates knew he didn't want to be there. Plus his coach did. So it was just not a good situation in Liberty. Does that change your perception of Salter at all if he's motivated coming in here to Boulder?
Dude, if anything, that would make me like dislike him actively. I think that's a kind of a bullshit move. If that's true, I'd like, come on, brother. And this is a program that it's like, unfortunately, it just feels like maybe they go together. If like he doesn't want to be at his old place, he's half-assing it. We got some half-ass Colorado games last season. Look, they went 9-4, and we talk about these guys a little bit like they sucked and a little bit like they were the best in the world, and the reality was in the middle. The defense got way better last season. I think that was a little under the radar from where they were. But Julian Lewis is going to play. Like, there's no way that Caden Salter's walking in here and Julian Lewis isn't. This kid's he's going to take the job. He's not just going to play. He's going to take the job.
I think they're both going to play. Now, we'll get into the schedule a little bit here, but there's definitely a setup where both these guys are going to play early. But, Tyson, the real question is who's going to catch the football? Who's going to run the football? Are we going to go a little bit more into, okay, it's not a showcase for my son anymore. Let's have a little bit more of a pro-style offense. Let's do this. I don't know. I am fascinated to see how this sets up.
It's going to be – actually, no. Do you think people are going to care as much?
No, I don't think as much because the expectations I think are a little bit inherently lower, and people are like, well, they did a good job. But anytime the Deion Sanders is saying stuff, like people are going to tune in. Now, he was at Big 12 Media Day. Did you hear anything about? I mean, he was like ripping the salary cap thing. They didn't get on Fox Sports. They get on ESPN. Like it was kind of swept under the rug, which was shocking because last year I feel like it would have been headline news everywhere.
I think the balloon there's been some air let out of it. I don't know if it's been popped, but I don't feel like people are as anti or as pro Colorado as they have been the last couple of years. This has been the most divisive team in the country.
I know, it's insane. I'll close here just to give you an idea of what Colorado's dealing with. 14.5% of their yards are back on offense. That's 119th in the country, which makes sense when you look at who left. 37.5% of their tackles are back. That's 86th in the country. But here's where I think they can get some positivity here, or at least take some positives early season. 158 offensive line starts, 4th in the country. That's huge. So if they want to transition the run of the football, I think you have a base there. 3 offensive starters returning, 8 defensive starters. We'll see if that helps. 18th toughest schedule, and you can see why. I mean, you start with Georgia Tech, who's supposed to be interesting. We'll get into that. That should be a fun team to keep an eye on. But Delaware is your second game. You got to go at Houston. You host Wyoming. You host BYU, at TCU, host Iowa State. That's the start, Tyson. I mean, my goodness. Then you get your bye, but then you got to go at Iowa. You come off of there. Arizona's off a bye. You host them for homecoming. At West Virginia, so you go back out east. Then you get a bye, so that's fine. You finish with the 2 favorites in the conference, home Arizona State, at Kansas State. This is a tough schedule. I don't know. I mean, the win total 6.5 plus 160 for the over. So this is a firm expectation. Hey, 6 wins, we'll be happy. Let's go bowling. Do you think they can get to that point?
No, probably not. Probably not. And then it's okay to have a transition year. Like everyone else gets to do it, and if Colorado gets a bunch of flack for it, they're not. It's not like Georgia just saying, "Hey, we don't have the guys to win 5 games." Colorado might. They landed a bunch of guys in the transfer. There's that defensive lineman from Jackson State. And it's like hey, Deion got him once. Maybe this kid's pretty good. They got a guy from Alabama coming in as well on defense, and maybe it all meshes and gel. It'd be fun. I just probably not bowling.
Houston, Willie Fritz in his second season, they went 4-8 last year, 3-6 in conference. Connor Wigman transfers in from A&M, and that is the biggest question mark, because if he can be good, we're talking about a different stratosphere this team can reach. But it's the injuries. It's this. In 5 games last year, Tyson, he threw 819 yards, 56% completions, 3 touchdowns, 5 picks. I mean, that is horrendous. So it's like, can this guy come in and be the supposed 4-star, 5-star borderline guy and be the face of the franchise at quarterback for Houston? That's the biggest question there. If he can't, then the season's tanked, and they're going to be lucky if they win 5 games or 6 games, go bowl eligible. If he can be, there could be a real year 2 bump for Houston.
I mean, there's always a real year 2 bump for Willie Fritz. He goes out and gets his old Tulane buddy as offensive coordinator because they need it, dude. They scored 2 touchdowns a game. Like it was ugly. It's disgusting last season, and I think Wegman sucks. And I don't think it's going to be a boom year, but I'm hoping, the kid's awesome. It's just the recruiting high. Sometimes this happens with guys where it's not their fault. They're just 5-star recruits, and then you build up these expectations. And he wasn't that good. Maybe he is now, and that'd be awesome. Funny enough, for a team that was really bad last season, like it wasn't the defense's fault. And that's unlike Houston football anyways. But then your defensive coordinator goes out, at least for Texas Tech. They went out and got somebody from Florida to be the new defensive coordinator, Armstrong, I think. But, it's going to be all on the offense. And it's Willie Fritz in year 2, and history tells us his offense is going to score 40 points a game.
Well, that's what you're hoping for. And you get Rashawn Sanford back, and Dean Connors. He was a Rice transfer. He had a good year. So you got some weapons. Stephon Johnson is back. Mekhi Muse. So you get some familiarity in your wide receiving core. 66.3% of their offensive yards returned, 23rd in the country. Defensively, only 34.1% of their tackles are back, 93rd in the country. So that could be a little bit of a concern. But 7 defensive starters are back. So that's at least feels like the transition is a little bit more smooth. Should be strong in the trenches offensively. 92 offensive line starts, 36 in the country, but 9 offensive starters, I think really is what you're looking at. It's like, yeah, the offense sucked last year, but with a little bit more familiarity, with a better offensive mind in charge, we can be a boon, especially if Connor Wigman can provide it. 57th toughest schedule in the country, too. Houston's got to be licking their chops. I mean, my God, you start with Stephen F. Austin, you go to Rice, you host Colorado, then you get a bye at Oregon State, which is like, I don't know about that. And you get a group in the middle where, again, it's the Big 12. It's coin flippy. But Houston, you got to be looking at liking your chances based on that schedule.
Like their chances to make a bowl?
Well, Vegas does. 5.5 minus 192 is the juice on the over. So I think 6 wins because, let's say this. You start maybe 4-0, Stephen F. Austin, Rice, Colorado, Oregon State. Can you beat Arizona at home? Can you beat West Virginia at home? Can you beat at UCF, who's in the transition? I think those 2 out of those 3 are winnable for sure.
Okay. No, I'm with it. What if he's just? I just think Connor Wigman can't play. That's all.
And that's the question. I mean, if you have to go to Zion Chris as your backup, elite runner, you got to throw the rock at least a little bit, though. I think that's the concern. Iowa State, though, this is a team that I was super high on last year. 11-3, 7-2. It felt like everything, the stars were aligning, and this was the year. The Dallas Cowboys job was open. I'm surprised Matt Campbell wasn't getting his name floated out there because it felt like that was happening 10 years ago. But Tyson, this is his 10th season in Iowa State, which is nuts. The issue I have, and I'll dive into a little bit, it just feels like everything's on a freaking roller coaster. Like it's a build, build, build. They achieve their great season and then comes crashing down and they got to build, build, build. They're looking to avoid that this year. Rocco Becht is back at QB, which I think is huge. Now, 3,500 yards last year, 59% completion percentage, which I think hurt him at times, but 25 touchdowns, 9 picks. Guy is talented. Plus, they get back their 2 leading rushers. Carson Hansen had 13 TDs last year, 750 yards, and Abu Sama, 587 and 2 tuds. So I think that's huge. But I don't know who he's throwing to. I don't know how everything's going to look. It just, what is this? Is Iowa State going to be able to build on something? That's the main question I have.
Oh, it'd be awesome, and it feels like it's maybe about time. They finished 15th last year, and it was just kind of like the quietest 15th ever. Like we were never sitting here being like Iowa State has to be in this 12-team playoff, and they just kept going. Like you said, the 2 wide receivers are off to the NFL, and we'll see how Rocco Beck does that. But Brad, it's college football. Sometimes having the really good quarterback, we learn the receivers' names later, and this guy can just go out and win games. And he looked like he was good enough to do that a year ago, whether his receivers were Townsend and Sewell or Higgins and Noel. And I think that is really what it boils down to. The defense has to be a little better. Like they just have to be. Everybody got hurt. It felt like every week you tuned into an Iowa State game, it's a new linebacker.
I know it. 53.6% of tackles back, which is 44th. 6 defensive starters, okay, or returners. That's a good spot. It can be better. You build upon that, but it's also like, well, those guys are back who sucked last year. Who should have been better. Sometimes that isn't always great, but the offensive yards, even with the receivers who have departed and gone to the NFL, 68% of their yards are back, 15th in the country. I think that's huge for them. 7 returning starters, 105 offensive line starts, which is 26 in the country. So you're getting experience back. You're getting in the trenches. The 29th toughest schedule, though, and Tyson, maybe I'm wrong on this. I just get this feeling it feels like when Iowa State runs into problems, they crumble. It's like when everything's going good and everybody's having a great time at Iowa State, like they're front runners, but when it's a single sign of adversity, I feel like they don't overcome it.
You can take Iowa State out of that sentence and slap any Big 12 logo you want onto it.
That's a good point too. That is a good point. So we'll see what happens with Iowa State. I mean, they are one of the biggest question marks that I have in this conference, and they really could decide a lot in this conference too. If they're able to compete at the top of the level, at the top of the board, then teams are going to have to look out. There's going to be more losses, more parity. We will see. This is another team in Kansas, Tyson, that we are big on Lance Leipold. I mean, this is his 5th season, 22-28 since arriving. That is unheard of at Kansas football, to be completely honest. I mean, what he's done here is insane. People are looking at 5-7 and 4-5 in conference last year. Like, man, what happened to Kansas? I'm like, that's what they did like for 7 years straight.
They would have been pumped for this.
We're not talking about this as a college football fan base enough. I mean, just what this guy is doing. Now, the key is Jalen Daniels. He was not good last year. 2,500 yards, 57% completion percentage, 14 touchdowns, 12 picks, but that's not even including the fumbles. He's back, though. He's got to stay healthy. I think he's in for a much better season if he can stay on the field.
Well, to end last year, they beat Iowa State, and they beat Colorado, and they beat BYU. And it was like, oh, maybe he did figure it out. Because for a while, it was like, he's just rusty from the injury. He's just rusty. And then it got to a point where it was like, I think the rust is worn off, and maybe we were too high on this guy. But then they ended up winning, big games down the stretch. But Brian Borland retired. Like, this guy's been calling defense, for Lance Leipold since we were born, it feels like. And I think it's 24 years, something like that. So the defense is under transition there, obviously. And it's a defense that does have to be, a little bit better. But they landed some guys in the portal, too. And I think you have to be a little bit excited if you're Kansas. Maybe not. I don't think the video game coming out last year for the first time in 11 years helped because it's Jalen Daniels and it's Devin Neal, and it's like, how is this team ever going to lose to anybody? And maybe this year expectations are tempered a little bit. This team can, go bowling and everyone can go, wow, Kansas is back.
Emmanuel Henderson, keep an eye on that name. Transfer from Alabama. Somebody's going to need to step up in the receiving core. There's some rumblings that he just might be the guy, and especially against Big 12 defense, to do that. And we'll see what happens there. Returning experience, 73% of their offensive yards are back. That's with Devin Neal gone. That's 27th in the country. That is huge. Defensively, 52.5% of their tackles are back, 88%. In the offensive line, they get 130 starts, 12th in the country. That's huge. 5 offensive starters, 5 defensive starters, but impactful guys who are coming back in the 59th toughest schedule. They start home Fresno State, home Wagner, at Missouri, which we'll see. Those games get wacky. Then they go into a bye week, host West Virginia, host Cincy, at UCF, at Texas Tech, host Kansas State in the rivalry game, host Oklahoma State, at Arizona, by at Iowa State, host Utah. That's tough to close, but this schedule sets up where Kansas could be making some noise this season.
That'll be so much fun. That was so much fun a couple years ago. It was Bean too. We were all like, Jason Bean, he's going to beat Oklahoma.
It was awesome. We will see what happens if Jalen Daniels can be the guy they need him to be. Let's move into Kansas State, Tyson, because this is a team last year. Everybody's talking about, oh, Avery Johnson, he's better than the guy he replaced. Like we did that at Oklahoma with Dylan Gabriel. Oh, Jackson Arnold's so much better. And it's like, well, maybe we should see these guys play first. And Avery Johnson clearly had a little bit of a trouble adjusting. He was solid. 2,700 yards, 58% completion percentage, 25 touchdowns, but 10 picks. Still, he was electric, 605 on the ground, 7 touchdowns. But it felt like something was missing, and he needs to take that next step forward. He's got to do that this year if Kansas State's going to realize their favorite potential and win this conference.
Yeah, I think it's a disappointment for Kleiman if they're not playing in the conference championship game. I think this team is schedule sets up pretty favorably for them too. If Avery Johnson takes the next step, you'll get into who they bring back, but Dylan Edwards is still here. Joe Jackson, this offense has the guys. This should be a return to the conference championship game for Kansas State.
It should, and they address some things in the portal as necessary. But Tyson, I'm looking at the periphery here. 46.3% of their offensive yards are back. That's 60th. Only 29.2% of their tackles are back. 109th. 82 offensive line starts, 49th. So not a great base, to be honest. Is Avery Johnson going to have to do too much? Dylan Edwards, he was a popular name and he was good his freshman year at Colorado. And maybe he's in for a huge boost in this one or a huge breakout, but just 546 and 5 touchdowns last year. Is he going to be a 1,000-yard guy with more reps? Potentially. That's what we got from Giddens. Giddens was incredible, though. He's been an established guy. 5 returning offensive starters, 5 returning defensive starters. Man, I'm going back and forth on Kansas State here.
Austin Romaine is one of the best linebackers in the whole country. And I think that's worth 3 additional returners from some of these other programs that we've named. And it's I don't know.
40th toughest schedule. I keep going through this stuff just to point things out. They begin their season against Iowa State in Dublin, Tyson. That's a week 0 game. We'll have a bet on that for sure as we get to week 0 bets. That'll be fun. I have no clue what to expect. We were shocked by what happened last year when Georgia Tech beat Florida State. And then it was well, that was just an upset. It's no, Florida State sucks. Imagine if one of these, Kansas State's just awful. It's just they lose over there, and it's just oh yeah,
it's on the table, I suppose. Maybe who played a couple years ago, the first time it was in Ireland? Did one of those teams end up? Was it Nebraska?
Yeah, Nebraska, and was it Northwestern?
Maybe.
Something
that sounds correct to me. Maybe they both ended up second.
Oh, they for sure did, because I think that's the last year that Fitzgerald was the coach. But I can't remember. But yeah, I know. See, we either get some treats over there. It's oh my God, what did we just watch? But yeah, Kansas State, I'm going back and forth. I'd be curious to see how they do this year. Tyson has the favorite. Oklahoma State. Boy, this is almost every single year annually, you're high on Oklahoma State. But Gundy coming off a 3-9 record in 2024. 0-9 in conference play. They have a single win. It feels like he's on his last leg here. It feels like the game might have passed him by. Maybe I'm being too harsh. It's insane, Tyson. This is his 21st season. He's 169-88 at a place like Oklahoma State. I'm going to give you the floor here. Just give me what's your thought on this program that you're a fan of?
Well, I think that this team's probably going to suck again. If we're talking about next year, I don't want to rehash old wounds. You're out here calling Ollie Gordon fat every weekend when we do the recap. This is a team they should have lost probably to South Dakota State to start the season. They kind of escaped with one, and we all just decided it's college football. You skate by week 1, and this team's going to be good. And that was just a preview of things to come. Dude, they lost 40 points a game.
It was terrible.
They scored 20.
And here's the concern, Tyson. 35.2% of our tackles are back, 6 defensive returning starters. Oh, is that what you want to hear?
Do you think that's a concern, or do you think a blank slate might be necessary?
Well, I think it's necessary, but like 80, that's 89th in the country. That's half almost. Well,
Yeah.
3/4. So I guess you are getting a little bit more, but it's not as much. It's not like a full reset. They're not sitting there like, oh man, we got to get some new guys in here. There's still some people back. 6 starters.
Dude, Gundy took a $1 million pay cut and nobody said it. Like, it was just like a thing that happened and that was it. That's wild. They were so bad that they were like, hey, if you want to stay, you have to give us back $1 million of your contract. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. I just, can you picture him getting fired? Or is he gonna is he a lifer and then?
I can't picture him quitting.
No, me either. I don't know how this ends. I think it's got to fix. I have no clue. Zane Flores is going to determine a lot. Like, are we looking at Oklahoma State like, holy smokes, what's going on here? Gundy seems to be on the Flores train that he missed last year with an injury. We have no clue how this kid's going to look. They got 3 transfer starters at wide receiver, Tyson. They got less than 400 yards returning, and where they're too deep on the running back side of things. This is a complete blank slate.
Well, we haven't even mentioned, like, Todd Grantham is calling the defense. That could go great or it could be horrible for Oklahoma State.
Oh, I have no clue what to expect. The only thing I can expect that they're going to be bad.
Like, yeah.
Like, I'm not expecting anything at Oklahoma State this year. Do I think they're going to win a game in conference? Yeah, probably. But their win total is 5.5. That seems insane to me.
They're not going bowling.
I don't think so either. It's -172 juice to the under. So, they're kind of saying 5 wins. 45th toughest schedule. They do kind of get a soft spot, Tyson. They open with UT Martin, but their non-con is freaking at Oregon. Like, that's brutal. They get a bye, then they host Tulsa. It's like, okay, but Tulsa should be improved a little bit. But this is not the easiest schedule for Oklahoma State. It says 45th. I think for this team coming back, though, they might have wanted a little softer landing.
Yeah, I think they're in trouble.
TCU. Sonny Dykes, 4th season here. 27-13 overall, excuse me. They were 9-4 last year, 6-3 in conference. Coming off their incredible run to college football playoff when it was just 4 teams, this looked like, man, TCU, they're going in the right direction, but faltered right after that. It was kind of expected based on how many people departed. So you're moving into this season, and Josh Hoover's your quarterback coming off a 4,000-yard season, 67% completion percentage, 27 touchdowns, 11 picks. There's a lot to like here coming back for TCU, and I think they're a team that I'm keeping an eye on for sure.
Jordan Dwyer is the name to know. I think if you're unfamiliar with the guys who have transferred in, this is a dude from Idaho. TCU has been turning and burning these wide receivers into NFL players. Like just last year, Savion Williams, Jack Beck, and I'm forgetting one more. But I think that Dwyer at 78 catches, 1,200 yards. Like, this guy's going to walk into a Sonny Dykes offense. Hoover's throwing for 300 a game. I think this dude is going to be playing on Sunday, 6 feet tall. He's a good player. But I think overall, with TCU's offense, it's the same old, like, lick your lips. I think it's going to be a fun time, and they're going to be a good time to watch.
I knew you were going to mention Jordan Dwyer because he's the FCS Idaho guy. Like, that was perfect intro. I didn't know much about him besides he caught 12 balls last year for almost 1,200 yards or 12 touchdowns last year. I was like, man, Tyson's going to have a little nugget on him. Keep an eye on Kavorian Barnes too. He's coming from UTSA. He's an interesting name. Can they kind of add a little juice in the running game? 6 returning offensive starters, 8 returning defensive starters, 59.5% of their offensive yards are back, which is 34th in the country. 57.2% of their tackles are back, 28th in the country, and they're getting 93 offensive line starts back, which is 34th in the country. I think that's huge for TCU. Tyson, where I'm hung up on him, 11th toughest schedule according to Phil Steele. Now, they open the season at North Carolina and Bill Belichick on a Monday night game. They get the early bye. Then they go hosting Abilene Christian, hosting SMU, at Arizona State, host Colorado, okay, at Kansas State, host Baylor who's off a bye, at West Virginia, they go bye, host Iowa State, at BYU, at Houston off a bye, host Cincy. Now, the last 4 could be your stretch there, but this is not an easy schedule for TCU.
No, and like everybody was able to run the ball on them last year, and the defense was better. But like you just listed a lot of teams that kind of want to run the football, and so that needs to be better. Because how do you keep Hoover and the boys on the sideline? You just run the football, and that's been their Achilles heel for a little while.
Texas Tech. Tyson makes fun of me last year because, man, I was in on the state schools. I'm just telling you guys right now, I'm beyond on this state school for sure. Joey McGuire, this is in his third season. Oh, they hired him because he's got all these connections. He was a high school football recruit coach. He's supposed to have all these recruiting guys. Tyson, apparently there's some whispers in the program. They expect this team to go 10-2 this year. Oh my God, you're expecting like a 10-2 season in the freaking Big 12 when you're not like Texas or Oklahoma. Good luck, you know what I mean? But
Dude,
they
they
have
spent a ton
like
of money,
$50 million or something like that.
They spent a ton of money. They better hope to go 10-2. They cost more than the Cardinals.
they got like one mega booster, right? Like that super like tech bro billionaire or whatever. Like even billionaires got to be looking like, all right, how much am I spending, and when can I get some ROI? Like what is going on here?
I'll let you kind of go here, but this was a team that we buried early in the season last year, and then we had to eat crow twice on Texas Tech because we were like, this team is way worse than we thought they're going to be. And then they went 6-3 in league play, and at the end of the year, it's like Texas Tech is pretty good.
I think that's a lesson for us. Like whatever happens in the Big 12, you just have to like week by week. You're like, okay, is this team hot right now? Let's ride with them. If they're cold, they're done. Like there's no rhyme or reason. But Baron Morton back, Tyson, for a senior year, 3,300 yards, 63% completion percentage, 27 touchdowns, 8 picks. But is he gonna stay healthy? That's what we got to figure out, and that's what their season's really riding on. I mean, Will Hammond's their backup. Are you going to trust that too much? I think Morton is the difference maker. They need him to be healthy. That's what their season's going to be riding on. Who do they have back there? They got Quentin Joyner from USC, so that's somebody I'm intrigued by. They did get like all 3 of their leading receivers back, which I think is huge. That's why you need Morton to stay healthy.
Hudson was in the portal and transferred, I think, and then came back to Texas Tech when they were like, hey, we got a bunch of money.
Right. I think he went to A&M for the oil money, came back for the tech startup money. Or
whatever. I mean, you love it. You love to see it from these kids. You don't get your money. But when I was talking about Houston's defense being pretty good earlier, it was Sheil Wood was the defensive coordinator. Now he's at Texas Tech. And they gave him a bunch of money to go out and get new toys. Like this could be a defense that's improved. Defense has been horrible in Texas Tech since Crabtree. It's just been that's the run of the program. But if they're better, this team could compete for a Big 12 championship.
And here's why they should be able to, because they got 64.2% of their offensive yards back, 25th in the country, 68.4% of their tackles back, 8th in the country, 10 returning offensive starters, 11 returning defensive starters, 138 offensive line stars back, Tyson. That's 8th in the country. Everything is set up for them with who's back, who's their quarterback, to make a run. And by the way, 72nd toughest schedule in the country. This thing is a cakewalk. I'm going to read this off real quick. Starting with Arkansas Pine Bluff at home against Kent State, home against Oregon State, at Utah. All right, maybe. Then you get by. Then you go at Houston off a bye. You'll take that. Home Kansas, which is preferred. At Arizona State off a bye, which isn't ideal. But then you go home against Oklahoma State, leading into at Kansas State. Then you host BYU, host UCF, bye at West Virginia to close. You get one bye week into the final against West Virginia. This schedule sets up perfectly for Texas Tech to make a run.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about how many games we think they're going to win. I don't want to spoil anything.
Let's get into UCF because, hey, Scott Frost is back in Orlando, baby. I mean, did you hear his comments about what he said about Nebraska?
Dude, what a freaking loser, dude. What are you talking? What are you doing, man? You never want to get another job again?
That was shocking. And then there's
you're supposed to be you can't be going out here blaming everybody else and everything else. That's not how this works.
You need some accountability. It was shocking. Tyson, before he got the UCF job, they're like, "Oh, do you think you're ready for this?" He's like, "No, but I'll figure it out as I go." And it worked because they went from 4 wins to freaking undefeated, and they're claiming their championship. And then he goes to Nebraska. It's like, dude, you are not ready for this job. We'll see what happens.
Take the wrong job. He said, I told myself I wasn't going to leave here unless there was a place you can legitimately go and win a national championship. And then basically, what did he say? when you're
The gun to my
climbing the
head
ladder
thing.
that one was crazy, but the corny when you're climbing the ladder of success, sometimes we forget to stop and make sure that we're happy or whatever. And it's like, dude, who are you blaming for taking the Nebraska job? He's like, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to be here. Nobody made you. Nobody's family ever has been like, hey, we need to move to Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't like it here in Florida. Yeah, like I got to go to whatever.
It was shocking. With that being said, they got Taven Jackson as quarterback, transferred in from Indiana. No clue how that's going to go. Miles Montgomery's back. Jaden Nixon's here. 3 transfer wide receivers, Tyson. This is interesting to see how that goes because 15% of the offensive yards back, 116th in the country. There's a theme here, folks. 18.9% of their tackles back, 124th in the country. 67 offensive line starts back, which is 64th in the country, so that's at least somewhat palatable. But they can't take advantage of a schedule that's 70th toughest in the country because we have no clue what's going to happen here. Gus Malzahn, he leaves this post to take over the OC job at Florida State. People said he was probably going to get fired. Does he avoid that? Whatever. But people are transferring out, and in this day and age, I don't even know. It's just like a skeleton crew coming in here.
What is their over/under for win total? Do you have that in front of you?
5.5.
Oh my God.
Minus 120.
Get out of my face! I mean, I didn't put it on the slip. UCF is going to stink. They're going to suck.
So too. I can't
Taven
believe
Jackson's going to win the job. Probably, you have to imagine.
Yeah, I think he's going to win the job. But Tyson, so the schedule is the only reason why I can see this happening because they open against Jacksonville State. Now we're going to get into why that team is going to stink because we're going to talk about West Virginia because Rich Rod's gone. North Carolina, AT&T, those are first 2 games. You got bye week, then you host North Carolina. Like, can you start off 3-0? Maybe. I don't know, but that's your non-con. At Kansas State, host Kansas. At Cincy, host West Virginia. West Virginia's off a bye, but it's homecoming. Okay, that's your first 4 conference games there. Bye. At Baylor, host Houston. At Texas Tech, host Oklahoma State. That's huge. At BYU. I'm having a hard time coming up with 6 wins.
Dude, they might like that after that second bye. It kind of sounds like they have a chance to win 1 game.
I think we might have to.
They don't play them on paper, and we'll find out and all that stuff. I've been cheering against Scott Frost for a long time. Professional hater.
I know, dude. I'm marking us down. We're both gonna be on this play. Well, I have it up in front of me. I mean, you want it?
Yes.
We'll wait.
Yes, I'm gonna go place it after
holy
this.
Smokes. This is why we do this, folks. And if you're listening, like we're trying to take not as much of a gambling angle, kind of talking through the season. This is why we like to do this stuff, to talk through everything. Okay, now that we're taking a look, I mean, I can't see a pathway. And especially with so many people are coming in here, it's hard to imagine that they're going to get to bowl eligibility.
Yeah, it's a good thing for the defense that everybody's new because the defense sucked, but it's also going to be hard, to go from one of the worst pass defenses in the country to above average, which is probably where they're going to have to be. I don't think the offense is going to score a ton of points. I don't think UCF is going to be very good at all.
Let's get into Utah. I gave a little bit of a preview about why I think they're going to win the conference. I'll dive into a little bit more about why I think that's the case, or give it a little bit more reason, I should say, about why I expect success from them this year. But Tyson, as the basics, Kyle Whittingham's back for his 21st season. We think this is probably going to be the swan song. They went 5-7 last year, 2-7 in conference. So this was a surprising year in the first year of the Big 12, and everybody thought they were set up to dominate. It wasn't quite the case. Now they get Devin Dampier in from New Mexico. What he did last year in Mountain West level, 27-68 passing yards, 58% completion percentage, 12 tuds, 12 picks, but he added almost 1,200 more yards on the ground and 19 touchdowns with his legs. Like, can you do that at this level? Probably not to that extent, but there's some talent. Wayshawn Parker comes in from Washington State at running back. Wide receiver, we're going to have to figure it out. That's pretty much what we're looking at here. Utah, as you're looking at things, Tyson, on your end, what's your expectation here coming in after a disappointing season?
I just wonder if they're exhausted, dude. That's all. Like, that's what I was saying last time. I was like, these guys got to be looking around this locker room like, hey, you told me Morgan was going to be coaching by the time I was a junior. And I love Whit, and I wanted him to coach forever. And just the defense was still good last season. It's kind of under the radar a little bit just because they were 5-7. Everybody got hurt. Cam Rising got hurt 4 different times, and then he retires. Like, this whole thing has been weird. I think Dampier could be a really good player. What if he just turns the ball over a bunch? And like that's the concern that I don't think is kind of being baked into this Utah thing. The offense was really bad last season, and what if they just don't Devin Dampier is a good player, and bringing over Jason Beck is probably a good move. But like a package deal like this also has equal potential to fail. It's not always a boom spot.
That's a good point, and we will have to see what happens. 27.1% of their yards are back. It's 88th in the country. 55.7% of their tackles back. 38th in the country. Tyson, this is what caught my eye. 115 offensive line starts back for Utah. 17th in the country.
It's like probably all Fano and Limu or whatever. Those two guys have been there forever. It feels like
forever. But if you're going to give Whittingham some nastiness, experience in the trenches, some dogs, some old men, I mean, come on. We're going to run the football. We're going to get after you. And Devin Dampier, we're going to go ground attack. We don't need no Cam Rising anymore. Come on.
I think you always need Cam Rising. I think you always need it.
38th toughest schedule. They open at UCLA, which is now an interesting game. I mean, this is also breaking down extremely. Now I'm looking at this on paper, Tyson. They open at UCLA. They come back home. They face Cal Poly. At Wyoming. I'm not sure how that game – they're in the transition at Wyoming, I think. They host Texas Tech, which is huge. They go at West Virginia. That is not a tough 5 to start the season. You get the bye. Then you play Arizona State. You're both off a bye at home. That's huge for Utah. At BYU in the rivalry game, no travel spot. Face Colorado at home. Face Cincy at home. Bye. At Baylor off a bye too. So you're not even getting screwed with the byes here. You host Kansas State at Kansas. This is a great schedule.
It's great. You got to score points to win the game.
That's true. Devin Dampier. Come on. Let's close here with West Virginia because Rich Rodriguez is back in Morgantown. It just feels right, Tyson. I mean, we became college football fans at our age when Rich Rod was running things. And now that we're taking a real deep dive and we're doing analysis stuff, Rich Rod's back. And it just is awesome. Coming back from Jacksonville State, excuse me. It's surprising that Neil Brown, I think, got fired after going to a bowl game, but it was not a marriage, and West Virginia was ready to move on, and Rich Rodriguez became available, and they're bringing him back. So I think that's a good move.
Year 2 of Rich Rod back in Morgantown is going to go crazy. But this year, let's have no expectations for the football. Nobody's left.
Nobody left. 27.5% of their yards are back, 87th in the country on that metric. 23.9% of their tackles are back, 119th. Here's the scary part. 48 offensive line starts, 89th in the country. Tyson, that is concerning.
That's brutal. It was a huge deal when they stole the defensive coordinator from Oklahoma. It was like, holy smokes, West Virginia's making moves. This is going to be fun. But again, that's going to take some time too, because as you just said, there's nobody left. And this unit was horrible a year ago. It's like 32 points a game. And you and I were dumb enough to take West Virginia plus the points over and over and over again, and we just lost every time.
Nico Marcial is a quarterback. He's been there a couple years as the backup. I don't know really what to expect out of him. Jaheim White is staying at running back, which is huge. 845 on the ground. He's better than CJ Donaldson last year, who is now transferred to Ohio State. So that'll be something there. Rodney Gallagher also back, so you get some continuity, some familiarity at wide receiver, but just 3 transfers that have to come in as well. 32nd toughest schedule, Tyson. I think this is going to be a tough year for West Virginia.
I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Henderson plays a little. The quarterback that transferred in from Texas A&M. I feel like he's like a redshirt senior, I think. And he's transferred. I feel like Rich Rod was probably like, hey, you're going to play a couple games.
Yeah, that's fair. Keep an eye, especially in this early season stuff. I mean, Robert Morris at Ohio, home pit, like a few of those games, I think you can get a couple quarterback look, and they figure things out from there. So it's hard to guess or project, I guess, per se, because we just don't know the staff. So West Virginia, though, I think year 2, keep an eye on them, but I'm with you. Year 1's going to be a rough one in Morgantown.
And that's okay.
Okay. That's it for the team preview. Now, Tyson and I are going to give out a couple bets here. You know what time it is, folks. It's Money Making Time.
It's Money Making Time.
So my first one is going to be Baylor over 7.5 wins at plus 108 on FanDuel. Now, you get this at the best price that you can find. I think anything around here, I think even down to minus 120. Baylor won 8 games last year. I think they're going to be better this year. The quarterback's more experienced. He has to stay healthy, but they have weapons. I think the defense is going to be better. And so all they have to do is stay the same. Give me Baylor over 7.5 or plus money. This is a great play for me.
This one has the potential to just blow up so hard, and I want you to win money, but it could be so funny all season long if you hate Baylor. I kind of want that to happen now. So this next team, Brad, if they suck, we're both going to hate them because we're both on Texas Tech over 8.5 wins. I just stepped all over your thing. I thought it was just going to have both of us there, so I apologize. But we ran through. Like, this is a team that we buried a year ago. They go 6-3 in league play. A lot riding on some high-level transfers, but I think they get it done.
No, you're good. I mean, basically, I was just going to lead into this too because we had the same mindset, and we didn't know coming in. You're like, I can't believe you're on Texas Tech because we were looking like, oh, I am. I just want to surprise you because Tyson makes fun of me for being a Texas State school guy. And now I got 2 of them, Baylor and Texas Tech. So I'm following the pattern. I thought we laid out both Texas Tech well. This needs to be a spot for them. They got some guys here. So Tyson, I definitely think they can reach the 9-win mark. They're expecting 10, so get to 9.
Yep.
And then last one here, we both have UCF under 5.5 wins. I'm forcing Tyson into it, so it doesn't hit. That's on me. But listen, we just went through it. It's year 1 of Scott Frost. It's Taven Jackson, who's never done anything. And what else is going on?
It's a hate watch every week. I'm not going to bet the UCF over because I'm going to end up, if I don't take this bet, then I'm placing them like money line to lose every week, or I'm taking them, to get blown out every week on the points. And this way, I just get to get it done early. I just know it in the back of my head that every week when I turn on YouTube TV and UCF is in the top right corner, I just need that scoreboard to be big numbers for the other side.
There we go. So couple bets here, less than we have had, but I think the way we're doing this year is going to be much more profitable per se, and I think it's going to help us in the long run to kind of get on spots, not be afraid during the regular season. Oh, well, we have this team total and yada, yada. So you guys don't care about that. You guys make your own bets. Tyson, if there's more interest that we're going to put out that's in the Big 12, I mean, we're going to have more episodes coming out later, so we're going to add stuff if we want. But as people get ready for football season, we're going to have our bets all in one singular place. Where is that going to be?
It'll be in the Discord app. The group name is I Said What I Said. Tons of different channels in there, whatever you're into. Tom Aspinall just got announced he's back. He's going to fight Cyril Gahn. If you want free money, go ahead and throw whatever ticket you have on Tom into the Discord. Brad will give you a personalized, cameo message. But it's free. It's a good community of people. Just hop on it.
Yeah, it's a good time for sure. Like, subscribe, and share the show. If you made it this long, you might as well smash the like button. We love doing these previews, and we get good numbers on them. I know you guys don't care about the back end stuff, but we love doing this. We love that you guys like it. So share it with somebody you know. Share it with somebody you hate. Does not matter. Get ready for college football season with us. Smash the like button. Hit subscribe so don't miss anything that we got coming out. It'll be ACC next. Then it'll be the Big Ten. And then maybe we should close the Big Ten since 2 championships in a row, but we'll figure that out. But it'll be the 2 big boys to close. But ACC next, so keep an eye on that, and we'll talk to you guys when we talk to you. Till then, peace.